Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to make gluten-free brownies from scratch. No mixes today, but this is an easy recipe that you can do. What's even better, we're only going to use one bowl. So that means we don't have to get out the mixer, we don't have to get out multiple bowls to mix one thing here and one thing here. We're going to do it all in this before putting it in the pan. This is a gluten-free baker's one bowl brownie recipe. I'm Jamie with Savorysaver. I share gluten-free recipes, tips, tricks, and resources to make your gluten-free lifestyle easier, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is you want a large bowl that's microwave safe because we need to melt this butter. And in the butter, we're gonna melt a box of Baker's unsweetened chocolate. This is a 4-ounce box. You can find it in just about any grocery store. If you can't find it in the grocery store, I'll link down below so you can find it online. But I've got a stick and a half of unsalted butter in here. And I'm gonna break this up into the bowl and we're gonna microwave everything until it melts. So when you're microwaving chocolate and butter, especially in the microwave, you wanna be careful that you don't set everything off and all of a sudden you have chocolate and butter all over the inside of the microwave. So we're gonna microwave it, but we wanna do it slowly because trust me, you'd rather be in the microwave every 30 seconds, taking this out and checking it, than putting it in there for a couple minutes and blowing it up in the microwave. That's gonna save you a lot of time on the cleaning of the microwave. The first round, you can do it 30 seconds to a minute, whatever you're comfortable with. And then we wanna stir it up, get everything mixed again, do it for another 30 seconds, stir it again, and then after that, take a look at it. It might need 20 seconds, it might need 30 seconds, but we just want to melt everything together. Once it's all melted, you're done and we can move on. Okay, the chocolate and the butter has melted together and it took just around 2 minutes for my microwave to do that. And there were a couple small pieces of chocolate when I took it out the last time. Just take it out of the microwave, stir it around for a minute. There's enough heat in the chocolate and the butter to take care of that chocolate and melt it down. Now, if you are dairy-free, this recipe is easily swapped out for a dairy-free brownie. Make sure your chocolate doesn't have dairy in it. I know Enjoy Life has chocolate chips that do not have dairy. So you want to use something along those lines. And then as far as the butter, swap it out for your margarine or plant-based butter. And that'll work just fine for this recipe. So now that our butter and chocolate's in here, we're gonna add sugar. This is 2 cups of granulated sugar. And you wanna add that in there and give it a good mix. And I know some of you guys are saying, well, there's a second bowl. And you're right, there is. But it's a whole lot easier for me to show it to you this way than to measure everything. And then you guys have to watch me measure stuff out. We just don't need to see that today. So I am using more bowls, but at home, pour everything in. And you're gonna see when you mix this that it's pretty grainy, and that's the sugar trying to dissolve. Don't worry about that. Once all that sugar is mixed in, you wanna add 3 large eggs. So we're gonna add those in there. We're gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So get those egg yolks broken and get everything mixed together again. You want to keep mixing this until you don't see any egg yolks and that egg white has been blended into the mix. Pretty much all of it. You can leave a little bit not mixed in if you want. It'll mix in when we add the gluten-free flour. And you'll notice when you add the eggs that the sugar isn't quite as granular in there. It starts smoothing out. And even more so when we add the flour. All right, so all that's in. And now we're gonna add 1 cup of gluten-free flour. And this is Measure for Measure by King Arthur. It does have xanthan gum in it, so we're not going to add any extra. If your blend doesn't have it, then you might want to start with a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan to help everything gel together. I will say I've not tested this with other flours, so if you make this recipe with another flour, let me know below and let me know what brand worked for you. Or maybe you have some gluten-free blends that you really like. Leave those down below as well. Let others know what kind of flours you like and what you can find in your area. So we're gonna add this. Give it a good mix, just until all the flour's blended. And guys, if you don't have a bunch of people you wanna make brownies for, I actually have a recipe that is for a gluten-free brownie in a mug. So I will make sure to link to that recipe so you can check that out. That way there, maybe it's a weeknight and you want a brownie and no one else wants one, or you're by yourself and you want one, and you can mix up a brownie just for yourself. Once your flour's all mixed in, if you like brownies with nuts, add a cup of either chopped pecans or chopped walnuts. If you don't like nuts, leave them out. No one's gonna know. And there's sometimes I just don't want nuts in my brownies. I mean, we've done it the past couple times, so probably next time I make brownies, I can't say I'm gonna necessarily add nuts. So add those, mix everything till it's just combined. We'll put this to the side. Now a 13x9 baking pan, I have lined it with parchment paper. That's so the brownies will come out easy for us and I can cut them in one big slab as opposed to cutting them out of the pan. And I've sprayed the parchment paper before with cooking spray. I felt that it made the bottoms of the brownies a little greasy for the first day. The second day they were much better. So I'm not gonna spray it since it is parchment paper. If you do something like aluminum foil, you may wanna give it a light spray. We're not gonna do it today. Put all your batter into the pan. Guys, you want to smooth your batter into the corners as best you can. Okay, our brownie batter is all spread out in the pan and now we need to bake it. So when I'm baking gluten-free, especially stuff like this, I like to let my batter rest for a few minutes. It takes longer for gluten-free flours to hydrate than it does wheat flour. So letting it rest for a few minutes will help with any potential grittiness that baked goods can get from gluten-free flour. So I'm gonna turn my oven on now to 350 degrees Fahrenheit to preheat, and that'll give this batter time to rest. Once the oven's preheated, we're gonna bake it anywhere from 30 to 35 minutes. At the end of 30 minutes, you wanna put a toothpick in. You don't want it necessarily completely clean, but you don't want it coated in batter. 1 or 2 little fudgy pieces is just fine. A couple crumbs aren't gonna hurt anything, and we want these to stay fudgy and chewy. So once you get to that point, you can take the brownies out and cool them. So I'm gonna pop these in the oven, and when they're done and cooled a little bit, we're gonna give them a try, and I'll tell you how to store these so they'll last for 3 or 4 days. Okay guys, our brownies are done. It took right at the 30 minutes and the toothpick came out pretty clean. So I took them out of the oven. I've let them cool for about a half hour or so. You want them cool enough to cut and they're gonna come out of the pan a whole lot easier. So let's see if I can get them out of the pan. So I've got that parchment paper that we did not spray. I just put it on there. Looks like there's a little bit of cracking, but they came out pretty easily. So let's cut one up. Now, usually we'll use a straight knife on these, but a serrated knife may work as well. And it's better if you can go straight through. And you don't want to overbake these brownies because they will. The edges are a little crisper than the middle. And if you bake them too long, it's going to continue to do that. So I'm going to come over to the camera and show you guys how fudgy this is. See those walnuts in there? You can see it's wanting to fall apart there, which is fine. Let's give it a taste. Guys, that brownie's chewy. It's a little crisp on the edges. It's fudgy. I can't tell it's gluten-free, which is always a bonus. That means you can make these, take them somewhere, no one's gonna know the difference. These brownies lasted for about 4 days or so before we finished them. They didn't really dry out hardly at all, which is, huge for gluten-free products. Keep them in an airtight container at room temperature. You could probably freeze them if you wanted to. We haven't tried that yet, but if you wrapped them up real well and put them in the freezer, you'd probably be okay with that. Guys, thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing so you don't miss any future videos. Please leave me any comments below on what you thought of the recipe or recipe ideas that you have that maybe I should look into. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.